Good evening, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to Community Central. This is one of our live sessions, which we have every Tuesday, supported by the Oxford School in Gisses. It's great to be here once again. And as you know, Community Central is a place where we sort of showcase people living in Dubai, creative entrepreneurs, people who want to make a difference, people who want to make a change, deserving people who've been sort of, working in Dubai, building something, who contributed a lot to, making Dubai to what it is, whether creatively or through entrepreneurship. So once again, welcome. A big thank you to the Oxford School for supporting us. Even though schools closed, they have taken this upon themselves to make sure that they, stay relevant, promote people, help people sort of, people who are, working day in, day out, and there's nobody to promote them. We do it on this platform. But today, I have someone who's pretty famous. He's not only famous in Dubai for his music, but he's also well known around the world for being a person who wants to make the world a better place, a person who wants to sort of, put, as they say, put your money where your mouth is. He's a person who's been traveling the world. He says he's not an environmentalist, but he just wants to save our species. And I want you to sort of listen to him today, hear him out. He's been doing things all over the world, and he's going to tell us, about biofuels and how they sort of work in a circular economy, which is something which I will learn as well, just like you. And it's an honor to welcome Karl Feilder. He's the chairman of and founder of Neutral Fuels. Hi, Karl.
Thanks.
So good to see you.
Thanks very much, Ryan. It's really lovely to be here. And I suppose in these days when we're used to doing things remotely, everybody's so used to everybody having a false background behind them. And you know what? It's not a false background. I really am sitting on a desert island. It's fabulous to be given this opportunity to talk to you. If I sound a little bit croaky, that's because I actually have COVID at the moment. And the reason I'm on the desert island is that I'm in isolation. But if you're going to do isolation somewhere, you might as well do it in the Maldives.
Yes, Karl, absolutely. When we actually did the test, the sun was up, and I couldn't believe that background you had was so beautiful, so picturesque that I actually asked you, is this a real background or is this a picture? And you said, Ryan, yeah, this is where I am right now. Yeah.
That's where I am. I came here for a business meeting, and through the last year or so, it really has been a case of living up to my adage, which is history is made by the people that show up. And showing up during these times has meant traveling, even despite the difficulties that we've all had. And traveling is certainly not fun at the moment, and the paperwork requirement is ridiculous. But we're, as you said in your introduction, building new facilities in new countries at the moment, and you simply can't do that without being there. You have to go to the places, you have to meet the people, you have to view the locations, and it's surprising that everybody's so happy to see me. I mean, I don't even have to do anything. They just seem to be very pleased that I've turned up. So it's lovely to be there. Yes.
Awesome. So before we go any further, tell us a bit about yourself. Where you're from. And a little bit about your childhood. Were you this bright young person who already wanted to change the world, or something made you get on this path? About your family, how they encouraged you, and how your current family encourages you right now, and something about yourself, so that people know who they're talking to, the real Karl, not the business Karl, the real Karl.
Well, sadly, most people know too much about the real me. So I am English originally. I still have a British passport, although I probably don't live there anymore. I'm a citizen of Dubai and spend as much of my time as possible in Dubai. The society there seems to fit with both my business ethic and my personal ethic. And I really enjoy the culture and the hot pot that we've created there. It's just fantastic. But I grew up in the UK. I did an engineering degree and then started my first business long time ago. And originally I had a career in the software industry. So I started and created and sold 5 companies in the software space. Wow. And then about 15 years ago, I got involved with trying to initially work out how to save the planet, which is, of course, something that is very germane at the moment. Behind me, that line of lights behind me there is the bridge over to the Hard Rock Cafe in the Maldives. And the motto of the Hard Rock Cafe is Save the Planet. And this is something that I really embraced 15 years ago. And I worked out more recently that actually the planet's fine. It's our species that needs help. So as you quoted in the introduction, my normal strapline is, I'm not an environmentalist, I'm just trying to save our species. I've got 3 beautiful children, 3 lovely girls, and I desperately want them to have a happy and successful life. And sitting here in the Maldives, I don't know if you're aware, but approximately 10 years ago, the Prime Minister of the Maldives held a cabinet meeting underwater to make the point that his country is actually sinking. And due to sea level rise, this beautiful island that I'm on at the moment will actually not exist in a couple of 100 years' time. The whole country will be underwater. And this is due to melting glaciers, the increased heat of our oceans, the fact that we are not doing enough about climate change. And it hits me every single day, and has done for 15 years now, that I've been wrapped up in this whole environmentalist confusion, that people really don't know where to start. They don't know what to do. They don't know where they can make a difference. So I don't want to try and solve all the world's problems. And that's what I mean by I'm not an environmentalist. I can't address the issues of orangutans and rainforest decline and the fact that we've got a problem with palm oil. These are all very complicated things with macroeconomic challenges. My issue, the thing that I've decided, is that I'm going to focus on one thing. I'm going to do that really as well as I possibly can. And if I'm successful at doing that, I'm going to make a massive difference. And so that's what I chose to do.
All right. So you put it simply, but I would just like to reiterate it. You say a person who's an environmentalist has a lot of issues to look at, but you've taken it upon yourself to tackle one issue and go with it throughout. Yeah, and that's what made you.
Yeah, that's really the issue. I mean, the United Nations came out with the Sustainable Development Goals, and they are all fantastic goals. And I can't disagree with any one of them. The problem is they need prioritizing. Ending world poverty is really, really, really important. And I wouldn't ever want to say that it's not important. However, if we create a planet where the environment is such that we can't actually live and work in this environment, it doesn't matter how many poor people there are. We're not going to have a hospitable planet for our species. And so my focus is purely on climate change. And it's purely on trying to do something that I think most people have forgotten about, which is the transportation carbon footprint. And I'm not talking about electric cars. I'm very proud to say I've been driving electric cars since 2008. I have a lovely Tesla at the moment. It's too expensive, but it's actually a beautiful, beautiful car. But I'm not talking about electric cars. I'm talking about the supply chain. The fact that everything brought to these beautiful islands is coming in a ship and a truck, and it's coming from overseas. And all of those are using some form of fossil fuel, most of them using diesel.
Okay, so I think that's a good, we can straight away segue to, what does neutral fuel do? I mean, what is zero net biofuels? That's your company, and that's what you want to push ahead, right? That's your agenda.
Yes, and in 1930s in Brazil, a bunch of chemists came together and they found a way of creating something called a fatty acid methyl ester that looks a bit like diesel if you're an engine. And it has about the same density, it has about the same energy content, and it has about the same other properties like viscosity and other things. So this fatty acid methyl ester is producible from fresh vegetables, plants, and recently deceased animals. And the easiest way to describe it is that all of the fossil fuels that we've so grown up with came about through the death of dinosaurs and plants 300 million years ago, and they've been buried underground since then. And what we've now done is come up with a way of freshly converting that into a fuel that people can use. Brian, I don't know if I've lost you there.
No, I'm here. I'm just highlighting you a bit. Go ahead.
Sorry. Did I lose you there, Ryan, or
No,
not?
no, 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 no. You didn't. You didn't
Okay.
lose me. I
So,
put you on a.
so the issue that we have is that 300 million years ago, all of these animals and plants and things died, and they became the crude oil that we bring up and convert into fossil fuels. And we've come up with a way of taking the fresh version of those things. So vegetables, animals, plants that are not 300 million years ago, that died recently, and most of them were cut down and converted into things that we use in our foodstuffs. And so we take waste food materials, predominantly cooking oils, and the other waste streams, the liquid waste streams that come out of the food and catering industry. So, for example, fish oil, chicken oil, other fats and greases. And we convert them using some pretty clever chemistry into something called biodiesel, which is almost exactly the same as regular diesel. I would say it's almost exactly the same in that our biodiesel is even better than regular diesel. Not just environmentally better, but it works better in the engine.
So can you give some examples of some of the companies that actually give them a shout out that are actually working with you, so we can be proud of them.
Well, it is something that takes a bit of a leap of faith. And I sat down with the McDonald's team just over 10 years ago, and I said, I think I've got a way of taking this technology from the 1930s and bringing it bang up to date and using it in the McDonald's trucks and using the McDonald's waste cooking oil from the kitchens. And we'll take that kitchen waste, we'll convert it in our factory in Dubai, and we'll make it into a fuel that you can use in your delivery trucks. And the McDonald's guys took a very deep breath and they said, okay, you may be crazy, but it sounds like it's worth a shot. So tell you what, you risk all of your money and you risk your reputation and you prove it to us. And here we are 10 years later, we've done nearly 20 million kilometers with the McDonald's fleet in the UAE. For the last 9 years, they've been running only on our fuel. So they don't use any fossil fuel in the delivery to any of the stores in the United Arab Emirates. And they have a carbon footprint, which is effectively zero on that transportation component. We take their waste cooking oil from the restaurants. We mix it with a couple of chemicals, methanol and sodium methylate. We use very sophisticated equipment that we've created to convert it into the biodiesel. And we then purify that and put it straight back into the trucks. It takes about a day for us to take the waste from one McDonald's restaurant and convert it into the fuel for one McDonald's delivery truck. So McDonald's has been great. They've been fabulous supporters. Since then, they've helped us with other customers like Nestle and IKEA and other really big brand names. And last year, we started supplying ADNOC. We've been supplying ENOC for a few years. So within the United Arab Emirates, we've actually become a pretty important fuel supplier in that we're the only people that can supply these fuels to companies that really want to have a very, very low carbon footprint.
So you tell me that now McDonald's, all their trucks run on fuel solely from their cooking oils.
9 years, 9 years they've been running like that. And we've now completed nearly 20 million kilometers. And the trucks are getting slightly better fuel consumption. The engines are lasting slightly longer. And we're able to say after 20 million kilometers, it really does work. And still, every day I get somebody ringing me up saying, hey, Karl, your newfangled fuel, are you sure it's going to work? Have you eaten a Big Mac recently? Because if you've eaten a Big Mac in a McDonald's restaurant, it only got there because of our fuel.
True. So do you think at some point of time you will be able to have the neutral fuel trucks going around filling, the cars, like the Carrefour or like one of those sort of companies, or it's only corporate?
I don't like that model. And in the Middle East, actually, there's very few diesel cars. So most of what we're addressing is trucks and school buses. We're now fueling somewhere over 500 school buses in the UAE. We have a great partnership with STS, which is part of the GEMS group. And what we were able to do year before last was to put a mini filling station at GEMS Modern Academy, which is a flagship school for GEMS. They have more than 100 school buses that are actually based at the school. And so we put a filling station there so that after the buses have finished picking the kids up in the morning and bringing them to the school, they can now fill up with biofuel. It means they don't have to go around driving around to the nearest filling station, which saves them some time and money. And then they're running on a better fuel that makes their vehicles burn less carbon monoxide, less carbon dioxide, which is better for the health of the kids that are sitting in the bus. And even more than that, we get invited by the principal occasionally to go into the school and explain the chemistry to the children and explain to them how science, technology, engineering and maths is actually a very good career. And sometimes we're able to bring in some of our female chemical engineers because we've got a lot of ladies working in our company as well. And we want to show the girls in the audience that actually choosing to be an engineer or a technologist and being a girl is not a bad thing. And there's a lot of opportunities out there for women in this environment.
Oh, okay. This sounds, I mean, and this is something that people need to know. I think this is something which I'm sure it's there in the corporate news world, but I think in the everyday people, I don't think they are aware of such things unless they read it in the newspaper or you get a bit of PR. So we have someone called, hi, welcome, Huma. So Huma says, is biodiesel cheaper than regular diesel when it's sold to McDonald's and other companies?
It's complicated, actually, because it's an international marketplace. In many of our markets, so in India, in Oman, in Bahrain, in Qatar, and in Abu Dhabi, we've been able to stop people from taking the raw material, that waste from the restaurants, and selling it to Europe. Because we can process it here locally, so why would we sell it to Europe? So when we can get hold of it straight from the restaurants, we can be price competitive with regular diesel, yes. If we have to compete with the European prices for the waste material, then we can only sell the product at European prices. So our goal is to put local neutral fuels facilities into as many cities as possible. And during COVID, we opened new facilities in Delhi and Bahrain and in Abu Dhabi, so bringing us to 4 factories. And it's our intention by the end of this year to hopefully put another 4 and bring them up and make them live. So it's our plan to go out to 50 cities. So in the end, the intention is that all of those cities would use their local waste in a local factory to produce a local fuel. And that means that they can ban the export of the waste into other countries as well, which means it will be price competitive, yes.
All right. Now, as you said, you're traveling. I mean, you're opening everywhere, different countries. What's the take? How are there challenges like India, for example? Delhi is one of the most polluted places. So how does it work over there? And then which are the countries that embrace your ideas, and which are the countries that you have the red tape, the politics, or the guys like who that it would work here, but they're just trying to find a way not to let it go forward.
I don't focus on the negatives, I suppose. That's one thing. I don't think I've found any country that's been hostile to our ideas. Pretty much everybody in the world has signed up to the Paris Accord, the Paris Agreement, to say that they're committing to keeping our temperature rise globally to less than 1.5 degrees above the pre-industrial levels. And as soon as you start talking to the right people in governments or in business that understand that this is not an option anymore, this is not something that we have a choice about. Everybody wants to have a better environment for their children. And as soon as you take the discussion into an emotional realm and start talking about what future our kids going to have, then of course you take that conversation completely into a different realm. And we've got viable financial solutions that don't cost countries any money in order that they can assist us and help them achieve their commitments under the Paris Agreement. So from a politician's perspective, we are a really, really good solution for them. We make them look good and we don't cost them any money. And we do something green at the same time. So in terms of support, we generally get a lot of support from people, both businesses and governments. Some of them it's very difficult because of communications issue, understanding their knowledge of science. They think what we're doing is a bit weird sometimes. And it takes a while to explain these things, but everywhere we've gone, we've been met with open arms. And I think that's the way I expect it going forward.
So there are 2 things I'll take from there. One is this is not an option. And the second thing is educating people. because I think educating people, whether it's on whatever level, I think that's very, very important. Because if they don't understand what you want to give them, they will never know the benefits of it. They will, if they don't come with an open mind and they're not ready to learn, especially, this is not a simple topic where we talk about, sitting over a cup of tea. This is something which you got to, learn from somebody who knows it, and you don't meet people who know such things every day. When they come to you, I think that's very important that you listen to them, and that's what we're doing here today. And what would you sort of, from your experiences with working with corporates, with governments, with how would the ordinary people, the everyday parents, the kids, schools, what sort of take would you tell them, and their contribution towards something like this,
Well, the first
towards the
thing is,
climate?
of course, to understand and increase your knowledge of this. And for fear of giving you a plug, but if you go to neutralfuels.com, our website, there's a lot of very interesting information you can read about there. You can follow me on LinkedIn or Facebook, follow the company on LinkedIn or Facebook, and we try and communicate meaningful information that's trying to expand everybody's knowledge. But once you've got that knowledge, everybody can play their part. If you're in school, ask the school why they're not running biofuel in their school buses, and put pressure on your principal to adopt a biofuels policy to reduce the carbon footprint of the school. Every school now should be able to calculate its carbon footprint, and every school should have a target to reduce that carbon footprint. And the big secret that nobody really wants to talk about is you'll save money when you do it. So saving money and saving carbon footprint at the same time, fantastic. No principal's going to turn that down in a school. So there's a lot of pressure from students to do the right thing and to move to a lower carbon footprint. If you're working in a company, talk to your boss, talk to your board members of that company. Ask them, have we got a sustainability strategy? Do we have somebody that's responsible for reducing our carbon footprint? And if we do, why are we not using biofuels? Every business that we've run into that has a supply chain here has got vehicles that running on regular diesel. We can instantly, without any modifications, move them onto biofuel. And they'll see benefits, both environmental and financial, as a result of that. So everybody can do their bit, but they just need to put pressure on the environments that they're in, whether it's a school or whether it's into university or whether it's into the organization that they work for. Direct action of recycling plastic cups and all of those type of great things go into that bucket I was talking about at the start. I'm not an environmentalist. I'm not trying to stop plastic bags from going in the ocean. I know that's important, but it's not, in my mind, as important as what I'm doing.
All right. So it's people should definitely be conscious about biofuels. And you mentioned no modification. So if you have a vehicle that runs on diesel, it's very compatible with what you're selling, right?
It's completely compatible. We've done this now on nearly every type of vehicle on the planet that runs diesel, and that includes generators and static diesel engines, ship engines. We've run it in all of them, and all of them have actually improved their performance as a result of using our fuel.
All right. Okay, now there is also, so for those who are listening to us for the first time, I know Karl not through biofuels or diesel or any sort of climate change. I met Karl as a musician. I know Karl as a singer. So it's very important that people understand that as much as you are this corporate person who has a tie and a suit and walks around, you also enjoy yourself by following a passion. So can you tell us something about your passion, for music, and how did you come about this, and what made you, get on this path as well?
Well, yes, thank you very much, Ryan. I mean, as you know, we've been musician friends for quite a long time, and the musician community is wonderful. In as much as in corporates, you have this very defined structure where you've got lots of hierarchy and you've got lots of people that are allowed to do things and lots that are not allowed to do things. When you're part of the musicians community, as long as you can play your instrument or you can sing your song, then everybody jumps up on stage and plays together. And I've just had the most amazing time over the last 10 years in Dubai of playing with some of the most fabulous musicians in the world. But it actually went back a lot longer than that. was in my first band when I was 15. And I carried on playing music until I was probably in my early 20s. And I had a choice at that point to carry on with music as my main career or to become a software programmer. And that is the sort of terrible, hard decision that young adults have to make. And I'm pleased that I took the decision to become a software programmer. And then I started my first the inspiration for everything I wanted to do. So just over 10 years ago in Dubai, I met Dr. Dominic Selwood, who was there's some incredible creativity. Phil Pendlebury writes most of the music, and he's just fantastic as a singer-songwriter, as a musician of pretty much any instrument that you can throw at him, he can play it. And so the first album went down really well. We released it on iTunes and onto all the social media platforms, and some that I'd never even heard of. My kids think it's quite cool because they can listen to it in the car and they can listen to it when they're wandering around. And then this year, having done it once, we thought, well, we better do it again. So we're now, in fact, this afternoon, I got the first mix back from the studio of our 8th track on the second album. The second album is called Zukunft, which means future in German, and is looking a bit further forwards into the future of our planet and the future of our species. I can't get away from using my music as an excuse to continue to educate people about climate change and about some of the things we need to adopt if we're going to do it. And I understand you've got one of my tracks that you're going to let us play in a minute. And just to give you a little bit of background on it, the track's called The Professor. And well, one of the things that I have is an abundance of energy. And so I'm about to start, which has taken me a while, but I'm about to start my doctorate. And so I am actually going to become one of the mad professors. But the professors described in the song start off talking about Nikola Tesla. And I think probably it's the only rock song ever written about Nikola Tesla. I might be wrong, but anyway. And everybody knows about him because of the Tesla motor cars. But the reason that Elon Musk chose the name of Tesla was because Nikola Tesla was absolutely brilliant. And he did lots and lots of great things. Like, for example, at the end of the 19th century, so it's in about 1896, he provided hydroelectric power to the city of Niagara. And there was no fossil fuels being burnt at all. They had electric light in Niagara before the advent of fossil fuels. And we somehow forgot about a lot of his technology, and we moved off because we found cheap oil and we went down the path of fossil fuels. So what we really need to do is look back at some of the inventions that Tesla came up with, not just electric motors and clever stuff like that, but some of the other more weird things that he came up with, because they're really a good indication of how things could go in the future. The second professor in the song is Bucky, which is Buckminster Fuller. He was an architect who came up with some very interesting designs. He's actually a polymath. He had all sorts of other skills as well. But he invented the geodesic dome. And he didn't do very well in his life. He didn't make a whole lot of money. But he left the world with this wonderful design. And it turns out that the geodesic dome is the structure that's most stable. And they're going to use it for the Martian colonies that Elon's planning and some of the other billionaires are working on. So Buckminster Fuller, or Bucky, his invention is going to end up having longevity way beyond his lifespan, way into the next century. And then the third mad professor on there is me, and it tries to compare my successes, meager as they are so far, with the successes and the importance of those two guys. And I just wrap it all up together in a song.
Oh, that's so nice. It's really awesome. Okay, so everybody, introducing a song by Sandstorm, and I think this is the debut for the song because nobody's ever heard it other than your band.
That's
for
true.
The first time on Community Central, the Professor.
Bucky was a bright boy, invented many things. Harvard didn't love him, tried to throw him in the bin. Thought to prematurely cash it in, his life insurance plan. You belong to universe, and the boy became a man. Bucky Storm heads out to space, making life on Mars. And the critics scratch their heads about his battle scars. Mickey's name is in bright lights, his car orbits the sun, and the idiots still chant out loud that it can't be done.
I mean, brilliant, brilliant. Absolutely. I'd like to say, a big shout out to the band for this amazing song. And it's only on, I think, Community Central, where you can, talk about the climate change and the environment and, changing, the world to music, a nice hard rock, heavy metal song, at the same time. And anybody, any parents, any kids, any teachers, if you're listening, one very important take from this is do not judge a book by its cover, number one. And number two is you can be everything. You can be that creative person, you can be that business person, and you can work towards everything you believe in. Don't ever let anybody tell you you can't. You're sitting in front of us is Karl, who said he started off with software, sold his company to Microsoft, started working, he wanted to change the world. He took a decision and said, okay, I'm going to do that. He started, 2 or 3 companies, and now he's based in Dubai, right here with us for the past 12 years. He's formed a band. He's released an album, and that was, I think that's a debut, a sort of debut single for, on our platform. It's the first time you've heard it. So, and it's not something which you play in the house on a guitar. It's a proper produced song. It's a proper produced, it's quality that can match anywhere on any radio station worldwide. So if Karl can do it, all of you can, I'm sure.
I completely agree with that, Ryan. I think that it's something that has taken the school curriculum by storm, is that they realized that STEM, science, technology, engineering, and maths, was missing something. So they now call it STEAM, and they added the A for arts in there.
Arts to it,
and
yes.
I think that what people really realize is that a lot of our brains are not functioning all the time, and the left-hand, right-hand side of the brain is a bit different. And you need to have both sides of the brain functioning if you're going to achieve your maximum. And so one of the reasons that music's so important to me is it sits along that creative side. And there's genuinely really good reasons to have creativity in business. You need to keep creating new things, new ways of doing business, new ways of keeping your customers happy, new ways of innovating technologies. And that isn't actually that different from creating songs. It's all part of the same thing. And I think also, and you know this as well as I do, doing something that makes you really happy means that you're happier in the rest of your life too. And if you can get that balance right, that's when you can really achieve your max, is to be balanced in happiness, because your creativity is being there, the intellectual stimulation is being there, and the day-to-day stuff is there as well. Trying to get it all into one bundle is really difficult, but it is possible. And I really encourage kids, adults, teachers, everybody that are out there, really just think about it a little bit and then work out what really makes you happy. I'm fortunate in that making music, riding a Harley Davidson, and running a business makes me happy. So I've found something that 24 hours a day, I just love doing it.
True. And just to clarify, this was not handed down to you. You worked for it.
That's actually the second song on the first album, is a story of my upbringing. And the first line is, I came from the wrong side of the tracks. I came from an extraordinarily poor background. In fact, when I was in my early childhood, we didn't even have a house. We lived in a mobile caravan, and I was given a bunch of opportunities. I thank God every day for the opportunities that I had, and that I had the courage to take those opportunities. I grabbed them with both hands and just ran with it. And yes, everything I've created has been from a very low base. I've tried to be humble and be thankful for the opportunities that I've been given, and also for the fabulous people that I've run into around the world. I've just met some of the best people ever, and they've all been fabulous at helping me with what I wanted to do, and indeed to help them with what they wanted to do.
Yeah. So that's the reason I made this statement, because if people don't know the background, they, assumption, is always, oh, the person, has the money, has the resources. It's not that, it takes time, it takes effort, and it takes hard work. And talking about hard work, I think, we are living in a country which has come from nothing, from 1971 onwards, when UAE was created. They've been working hard, and they've built what they have with a lot of hard work, working with people, working with partners, and when we talk about, before we go there, you had done a concert which was, an eco-friendly concert at one of the colleges, I presume, yeah?
Yeah, we did the first carbon neutral rock concert in the Middle East a couple of years ago. And it was fabulous for lots of different reasons, but we were able to sponsor the event. We, as a company, we also provided the fuel that ran the generators that ran all of the sound, all of the lights for the entire event. And the concert organizer was a very talented young Sri Lankan chap who kept in touch with me. I didn't realize that he was not just a musician, but also extremely talented technologist. And we just employed him. He just graduated, finished his degree, and we've just employed him. Oh, and two of his friends as well from the same university. So it all comes around. I wouldn't have met
it's a full circle,
I wouldn't have met him unless it was for music. His name's Ashada, just a shout out to him. He's a fabulous technologist. And I met him as a musician, found out that he was a technologist, and then gave him a summer internship, and then realized, okay, here's a talent. This is somebody that would join us. And he loves working in the office as well, because he sits not too far away from my office, and there's always rock music blaring out of the speakers, even when we're trying to have sensible business conversations. It's just a different environment.
Oh, brilliant. I mean, it's so good to hear these stories, because these are stories which nobody knows, and only if there's a platform to share them, if there's a platform, where people are willing to ask the right questions, will you talk about these things? And I thank you so much for sharing all these little nuggets, as they say, memories, which people, it's a takeaway, for people to understand that no matter where you are, you don't know where you will meet people and what it will turn out to be in the long run. Stay humble, stay grounded, and just be yourself. I think, everybody's born without anything, they're born, simple. It's the world changes you as you grow. The world changes you, but it's up to you after a certain age to pick up the good things, pick up, what can be taken with you. And yeah, so talking about Dubai and with the expo coming up, how is neutral fuels? What are you contributing? I'm sure there is some way that you will be a part of the expo, because you're a homegrown company right now.
Well, we've been involved with Expo since actually before the official announcement that we had won Expo. And I remember that fabulous night. I was on Beach Road in Jumeirah, and there was people standing out in their cars and horns blaring and people partying that we'd won it. But a few weeks before that, we were approached by the consultants that were designing the Expo site. And they said, we want to make this Expo the most sustainable Expo ever. So can we use your fuel in all the construction vehicles and in the on-site generators for providing the power while we're constructing the buildings? So for years, we've been providing the power through our fuel, through generators, and for some of the digging works and some of the other ground moving equipment. And now that the whole site's been finished for a while, we've moved on to looking at how we can help during the actual running of Expo. So I'm pleased to say that we've been given the permission to collect all of the waste cooking oil and convert it into fuel that's going to be used on site as a biofuel. And we've invented a new way of collecting the oil to showcase our technology abilities. And we've got a new style of oil container. I mean, only I could get excited about a plastic oil container, but this is an intelligent plastic oil container that can tell us, by sending a signal across the mobile phone network, it can tell us when it's full. So when somebody fills it up with waste oil, normally it will take 4 or 5 fillings from a fryer to fill it up. But when it gets to 75%, it senses that it's getting full. So it then sends us a message to our control center to say, hey, I'm going to be full soon. Can you send somebody to come and pick it up and bring a new empty one? And we thought this was just, well, nobody else does that in the world, because nobody else is that crazy. And it's just a nice way of showing off that we can do something. The oil collections actually run from an app that we run on a phone. So most people think dealing with waste is a terribly grubby thing that hasn't got anything to do with technology. But actually tracking that waste stream, being able to know who picks up the waste, where and when, it's all geolocated, it's all tracked as it's being transported, it's traced and audited when it gets to us. We then trace it through our factory, so we can virtually tell which restaurant provided the fuel, the oil, which goes into which vehicle and which driver drove that truck. So we've got the complete audit trail now, and this is useful when it comes to policing waste streams. It's not, I don't do these things because they're just flashy or they're fun, because as we go forward, people are starting to realize that waste is a raw material, it's a resource, and therefore it has value. And so it needs to be tracked. It needs to not disappear or get disposed of incorrectly or thrown away. It needs to actually be traced. So if it's got value and there's money associated with it, why wouldn't you spend a bit of time on some technology to keep track of it?
Brilliant. So I think that's one of the most amazing things I've heard, especially when it comes to technology. When we associate technology with complicated sort of systems and gaming and internet and all these sort of things, but this is one of the most simplest things. When you have a plastic container, and practical, when it's going to be filled up, you get a message, and okay, this is the route, this is where it needs to be picked up. I mean, it's amazing. So you've got a whole lot of things together. Is this because of your software background that you were that you're always up there with things?
Yeah, when we started the sustainability businesses, the end of 2006, I decided then that I'd had enough of technology and that I wasn't going to do any more technology. And it took only about 5 months before we were rolling out a software program to all of DHL's locations around the world to measure their carbon footprint as part of a project we did for them. I couldn't get away from technology if I wanted to. My kids tell me that I'm the uber geek, and that I just love every single bit of tech, and I understand how to simplify it, which is even more important.
Yes.
The only thing my kids don't like is they just banned me from dancing on stage. They say that they can't cope with the embarrassment of daddy dancing.
No. But that is something that comes naturally. It's not planned.
Well, I tried stand still. You'll notice, and you've seen this on stage, that I disappear off stage quite a lot. That's just so I can go and have a little bit of a dance at the back of the stage.
Oh, wow. It's brilliant. It's brilliant. I mean, it's so good to talk to you, Karl. I mean, it's amazing that there are so many things that we can talk about. When we sit down together, if we put our mind to it. Intelligent and creative. And so when you come back, are you going to be playing again with the band? Are you guys all in town?
Yeah, we've got a plan to try and create another carbon neutral concert, to do that even bigger this time. As you know from your activities, promoting gigs and setting up big gigs is really quite a challenge.
Yes.
And we need to find the right venue for it and to get the right bands there and get it marketed correctly. We did it all. We were set up. We'd actually hired the tennis stadium in Dubai for a gig in just March of 2020, just when the lockdown happened. I think actually the gig was due to be the day they closed Dubai airport. So it was just at the wrong time. But we want to do something like that, which allows us to communicate to people that a completely net zero event, as opposed to carbon neutral, a net zero event is possible. And we'd got it lined up to have all the T-shirts and the merch was going to be made out of recycled materials. We were collecting all of the waste at the site and recycling it into other things. And we managed to obviously take the site offline so that we could power it just with our biofuel. So we need something to do something like that, because that for me is the sort of nexus of my business career and my personal musical interests, and it allows us to communicate to a broader audience and get out to more and more people.
I think that the last lines you said, I think it's the key. It gets you to a broader audience, to the masses who understand that climate change is for everybody, not just for a certain amount of people or a certain amount of it's not there for above a certain level. It's for everybody. And what better way of marketing it, and talking about biofuels and powering something and promoting it through PR and through information that they understand. Like today, I've actually understood what you mean when you say you take the oil from McDonald's and change it into diesel and let it run out over there. Earlier on, you just read net zero biofuels, and you wonder what is this. When you think of biofuels, okay, fuel, you go put your petrol and leave. Bio, then you get okay, what is it? But today you've really simplified, the way things work, simplified the way what your company does, which is brilliant, and told us that you're not only working with McDonald's, because McDonald's is, everybody, when McDonald's burger, okay, Karl works with McDonald's, it's great, he's powering their trucks. But you've told us about the expo, so even before, so the expo was a big project, so I'm sure you would have saved a whole lot of, on the carbon footprint over there as well. So I think it's really, really amazing that you're doing all these things and you're based in Dubai and you live right here, and I think we should do, when the schools open, maybe we can do a little tour of the schools and, talk to them about it. Maybe if you're not available, some of your staff, some of your team, take what the oil looks like and what the fuel looks like in a little bottle and show it to them. This is what it is.
Absolutely. And, there's so much. We've worked with GEMS Modern on some of this. There's so much in the curriculum that actually we can talk about and make it real. We're not just talking about recycling. We're talking about the damage that's done by fossil fuels, and so that's part of the geography curriculum in some schools. We then talk about the science of how do you convert a triglyceride molecule into a fatty acid methyl ester, and why is that science important, and what's the difference between that fatty acid methyl ester molecule and a normal carbon chain of a diesel fuel. How does a diesel engine work, which is an engineering challenge? Most people don't realize, but diesel engines work totally differently from petrol engines. And then to talk about the macroeconomic impacts of moving these fuels around the planet when we could be using them locally, it provides something into the economy curriculum as well. So we like talking about all these things, and it's not just me. That's the most important thing. I've got an absolutely astounding bunch of people working with me in the company. They are some of the best people I've ever worked with in the world. They're passionate, they're committed, and they're extraordinarily talented. And we need to put them out there as well to explain to people the same type of things, to explain to them their personal journey, how they came to be part of this transformational business.
All right, brilliant. All right, thank you so much, Karl. It's been amazing. We've spent a good 50 minutes just, talking about things that we do in everyday life, and any takeaway, for parents, kids, children listening, anything that they can sort of take away with them today.
A couple of things that I'd like, that I'd wish somebody had told me when I was a bit younger. First of all, try and find half an hour every day to just think. Most people don't have or don't find that time to think. And if you can just find somewhere quiet and just think, that's certainly valuable. I think grab opportunities as they come along, but never take shortcuts. And then my final piece of advice is, if you're struggling with a decision, just do the right thing. Your parents raised you in a way that you know the difference between right and wrong. And if you have a complex decision in front of you, you know deep down what the right thing is. Just do the right thing.
Wow. I mean, that's so cool. That's so cool. It's so simple, and, things that, are in your subconscious, but you need someone to tell you. Thank you so much, Karl, for, stopping by. And, in spite of having the COVID, you're still sitting with us from Maldives. You made sure that you, as you said, you were there when we needed you. No, you're kidding. Because you told me you're in perfectly good health, and you still can't figure out how they found it positive.
Yeah, I'm very well, thank you. And Ryan, thank you so much for the opportunity, and also thank you for putting forward this way of communicating to the community. Dubai is, above all things, a community. The tourists don't realize it when they come by and they say, oh, it's just all glass and chrome and it's all a bit Tinseltown. They don't realize that there's real people living in this city who together make it a real community. It's the best place in the world to live. I just love being part of this type of community effort. So thank you so much for the opportunity.
Thank you, Karl. Thank you so much. All right, guys, thank you so much for listening. For those who've been a part of the show, if you have any questions, you have the comment box. Drop them over there. We'll pass them over to Karl, and he can answer you. To give his company a sort of a check on the website. It's called Neutral Fuels. They're based here out of Dubai, UAE, and thank you, Oxford School, for supporting such a fantastic talk. For creating awareness, for supporting the community. And the Oxford School, if I didn't mention it earlier, is a British curriculum school, and based out of Gisses. They have a fabulous, management, great staff. They have a new principal come on board, and they look forward to welcoming you. Go onto their website, go onto their Facebook page. If you have any queries, type it on over there, and someone will get back to you. They'll inform you on the fee structures and getting your kids in, how they can sort of help you out basically. And if you have a problem, if you have there's something you can't afford, or there's something which you feel that you need help with, write to them. For all if your child is talented enough, you might get a scholarship, because they run a couple of programs which help kids with talent. So do get in touch with the school if you have any doubts. Thank you everybody for watching. My name is Ryan, and you're watching Karl Feilder, who's in the Maldives right now. He's missing Dubai tremendously, missing his family, and we thank him so much for being with us. Thank you everybody. Have a good evening.